A person's greatness is determined by their thoughts. This timeless truth has been proven over and over again by the lives of successful individuals, people like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, and Jeff Bezos. They all began with one thing: a powerful thought. Napoleon Hill once said in his famous book, Think and Grow Rich, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." But if that's true, why do so many people struggle to succeed? Why do millions of people dream of success yet fail to achieve it? Do they not think about their future? Or do they fail to see their own potential? Today, Yes Story will answer those questions and reveal a lesson that can change the way you think forever. So stay till the end, because this story might awaken something inside you. Once upon a time, in a busy railway station of a large city, there lived a beggar. Every morning he sat on the same spot near the ticket counter, holding a tin can, asking passengers for a few coins. The air was always filled with the sound of train whistles, hurried footsteps, and vendors shouting for attention. People came and went, lost in their own worlds. But for this beggar, every day was exactly the same. He had no dreams, no hope, and no plan. He believed this was his fate: to beg, to survive, and to wait for life to end. One morning, as he sat asking for alms, he noticed a well-dressed businessman walking confidently across the platform. His shoes shined, his suit looked expensive, and his posture spoke of success. The beggar thought, "This man must be very rich. If I ask him for money, he'll surely give me a generous amount." He stretched out his hand and said softly, "Sir, please spare some change." The businessman stopped, looked at him carefully, and asked, "Do you always just take from others? Have you ever given anything to anyone?" The beggar froze. No one had ever asked him such a thing. He stammered, "Sir, I'm just a beggar. I have nothing to give. I survive by asking." The businessman smiled slightly and said, "If you believe you have nothing to give, then you also have no right to ask for anything. I am a businessman. I believe in exchange. If you can offer me something, I can give you something in return. But if you have nothing to give, I cannot give you anything either." He boarded his train and left, disappearing into the crowd. The beggar stood there, speechless. He kept replaying those words in his head. If you believe you have nothing to give, you have no right to ask. That night, he couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling of the station, thinking, "What can I give? I have no money, no food, no possessions. What do I have?" For 2 whole days, he didn't beg. He just sat there thinking, searching for an answer. On the 3rd day, while sitting near the tracks, he noticed a small patch of wildflowers blooming by the railway line. Their bright colors stood out against the gray cement and dust. A thought crossed his mind. What if I give people something beautiful in return for their kindness? What if I offer them a flower when they give me money? He plucked a few flowers carefully, washed them in a cup of water, and arranged them neatly. That day, when a man dropped a coin into his tin, he smiled and said, "Thank you, sir," and handed him a flower. The man looked surprised, then smiled and said, "That's lovely, thank you." For the first time in years, the beggar felt happiness, not because of the coin, but because he had given something in return. From that day on, he made it a rule: anyone who gave him money would receive a flower. At first, people were surprised. Then something magical began to happen. More people started stopping by. Some came just to take a flower before their train arrived. Others dropped in extra coins and smiled warmly at him. The beggar noticed something curious. Whenever he had flowers, people gave him more money. Whenever he ran out, the money stopped. He realized the truth: people love to give when they also receive. He was no longer just a beggar. He had something to offer. He had become a trader. Weeks later, as he sat with his flowers neatly arranged in bundles, he saw a familiar face step off a train, the same businessman. The beggar, now confident, rushed toward him and said, "Sir, today I have something to give you. If you give me money, I will give you flowers in return." The businessman smiled and handed him a few bills. He took the flowers and said, "You have truly understood the value of exchange. Today you are no longer a beggar. You are a businessman." The words hit the beggar deeply. He stood tall, watching the train leave. He whispered to himself, "I am a businessman. I sell flowers." That night, he couldn't stop smiling. For the first time in his life, he felt proud, not for what he had received, but for what he had earned. Months passed. The beggar stopped sitting at the station. He rented a small wooden cart near the market and began selling fresh flowers. He smiled at customers, wrapped their flowers neatly, and treated everyone with respect. Soon people began calling him the Flower Man. 6 months later, at the same railway station, 2 men met on the platform. They shook hands. One of them, the businessman, looked at the other curiously and said, "Do I know you? You seem familiar." The other man smiled and said, "Yes, sir. We've met twice before, right here on this platform." The businessman frowned, trying to remember. Then realization hit him. "Wait, you're the beggar, the one I refused to give money to, and later I bought flowers from." The man laughed warmly. "Yes, that was me. But today I'm no longer a beggar. I run a flower business now. I travel to nearby towns to expand it." The businessman was astonished. "That's amazing. What changed you?" The flower seller smiled and said, "You did, sir. That day when you told me to give before I take, something changed inside me. I realized that I was never really a beggar. I only thought like one. When I changed my thoughts, my life changed too." The 2 men shook hands again, this time as equals. Life is shaped by how we see ourselves. If you believe you are small, you will remain small. If you think you are weak, life will keep proving you right. But the moment you recognize your potential, the world begins to see it too. Our thoughts create our reality. If you think like a beggar, you'll live like one. If you think like a businessman, you'll become one. So ask yourself, how do you see yourself? As someone waiting for the world to give you something, or as someone ready to offer something valuable to the world? You don't have to be rich to give. You can give your time, your kindness, your ideas, your energy. Because giving is the beginning of growth. When you give, you open the door to receive. When you think big, you grow big. And when your thoughts change, your future changes too. If you like this story, give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who needs motivation today, and tell us in the comments. What did you learn from this story? Remember, success begins in the mind. Think differently, believe in your potential, and watch how your life transforms.